Hi everybody, Eric Swanson with Duraburb here in Orange County, Central Florida, where we bring you, of course, Duramax powered GM SUVs. Well, today we want to take the opportunity to introduce you to the new 3500 Suburban. This is the new replacement for the 3/4 ton Suburban. It is available for fleet and government use. It is basically a Copo truck, much like the old Copo Camaros of old. And there are a few revisements from 2016 we wanted to share with you. Also, we had the opportunity to build some 2016 one-ton Suburbans, but due to the nature of the application of the vehicles, we weren't allowed to take any video footage or pictures of them, so we'll just kind of explain to you some of the changes that we see. The 2017 is basically a carryover of the 2016. There have been a couple of changes. On the power plant itself, we're still using the same old L96 6-liter, the 6L90 transmission, and the Magna Power transfer case. One change that they made that we all don't really agree with is you'll notice there's no dipstick. Well, that's because this is now considered a non-serviceable transmission. You just drive it until it stops. Not a good idea, but it's probably an advertising thing. The L96 itself is pretty much the same as it has been since 2010. One change that we did see in 2016, though, is the L96 always got an E38 engine controller, whereas in 16, and again in 17, we see that now it's getting the E78 engine controller. This is the one that you will see in the L96 6-liter in pickup trucks. But we never saw it in the Suburban. It always got the E38, so that was something that was a little interesting change. But other than that, the power plant's still the same old power plant. Now, going back over to the actual Suburban itself, the frame is also a carryover. This is the same frame that we've been using since 2000. Obviously, it works very well for them. The IFS is still the same IFS system that we've been using since 2000. Nothing really has changed here. Same steering box. We use the same Hydro Boost system that we've always had before. So all of that stayed the same. The suspension all stayed the same. A few changes that were made, though, was, of course, we went to this 8-on-180 wheel package. So now GM is equipping these with the Silverado Sierra giant calipers and rotors. So that necessitates this 17-inch wheel in order to get everything to fit, because as you can see, it barely clears. That's a pretty massive brake package they've put underneath this thing. That's how they got the 1-ton rating. We did see that the torsion bars changed. We are running a slightly larger torsion bar now. So that's basically a 3500 torsion bar from the older generation pickups from 07 to 10. Well, actually, that was also a carryover from the 2000 to 2006 as well. So at any rate, everything here is pretty much the same C-channel frame. Same front support members, just a lot bigger brakes on the front. ABS systems, as far as they go, in 2016, we had this. It's the good old tried and true 4-wheel ABS system that we've been using since 2008. That's what came on the 16 trucks. But now in 17, we notice we're going over to the new style. This is a system that you'll see on the 1500 Suburban Silverados. It's also on 2500 Silverados. This came out on the 2500 and 3500 Silverados in 2015, but it didn't make it into the Suburban until 17. We were still using these up. So that was one thing we saw, is a little bit of a change, a revision. As far as fuel tanks go, same fuel tanks we've been using since 2004. One modification we saw to the frame, which is kind of neat, is this. They moved the body mounts over. Now, the neat thing about this is you used to have two different bodies. When you looked underneath the body of a Suburban, you had body mounts here, and you had a body mount over here. Now, whether or not it had a nut in the hole determined whether or not it was a 2500 or a 1500. If it was 1500, the nut would be here. If it was 2500, the nut would be in the hole over here. The reason for that was because on the 2500 frame, our mounts were right here. Matter of fact, that's what that cutout is for, so you could stick your socket up through there to get to it. They haven't even changed the tanks. But what they did do is they put these wings on to allow for attachment to a 1500 body. And then back here, they did the same on the other side as well, because that body mount used to be mounted over here. So they moved them out. That mount was always the same, but this mount never lined up. And there's really no way to do that, because on a 1500, the mount's over here, where that shock absorber is, because this is a leaf spring rear end, and the 1500 is coil spring. GM, I guess, determined that it wasn't necessary for that body mount, so they just put that snubber in, and the snubber basically bangs into the body right there. But by doing this to the frame, by making this modification, that makes the bodies all identical. They're all the same. So this is a 3500 one-ton vehicle, but this body could be a 1500 body. It could be anything, because it doesn't matter. The cool thing about this is you could take this frame new from GM and put it right underneath that Escalade ESV over there. That's a 2009, because all the body mounts are in the exact same location as these here. So it's a really nice frame. I mean, it's very, very universal. So we like it. We did see the alignment points. They use a different alignment point, much bigger. So probably something for, on the assembly line. But again, as far as the tanks go, everything's the same. Now, another thing that we did see that's different on the 16, and it's a carryover for the 17, is you'll notice that we have the giant Silverado Sierra calipers and the massive rotors. Now you'll notice that the dry shaft tube tapers down right here. The reason for that is because when you look at the dry shaft tubes, the 10.5 inch is still, once again, it's another carryover from the Suburban from all the way back to 2008, but you'll notice the yoke on the front is a billet yoke. All right, so that's a lot stronger, and the tubes are larger in diameter. Instead of 3.5 inch tubes, they're now 4 inch. The reason for that is because the axles that are in the 10.5 inch are traditionally smaller than the ones in the 11.5. Well, now they're running the 11.5 inch axle in the 10.5 inch rear end. So it's not an 11.5, but it's a very, very beefy 10.5. These improvements all give it the ability, along with on the suspension side, you'll see we have a larger support spring here. That's much bigger than what came on the Suburban from 07 to 14. So those improvements on the springs, on the torsion bars, the braking system, all of that combined is what gives us that 3500 status, or that 11,000 pound GVW rating that is necessary for when you're armoring these vehicles. So those are basically the improvements and revisements that we've seen. Again, as I said, the 17 is really a carryover of the 16. The 16 shared a few things from the 07 to 14 platform, but that's to be expected. I mean, this is a 2007 in for an LMM, and that was the same thing. In 07, the 6 liter that came in these vehicles was an LY6, and it still carried the old 4L80 that we ran from 03 to 06. Still carried the same new process transfer case and didn't have tap shift. It wasn't until 2008 that this platform actually became a true GMT 900. It was kind of a carryover vehicle. And that's exactly what we saw between 2016 and 17. So now we see with the 17, we've got a true new style truck. And we've got all the revisements that we would expect. In this kind of a build, we use brand new equipment. So of course we have this brand new LML. The client did not want to use the L5P because it's not, in his opinion, proven yet. So he wants to go with this LML package. So we buy these right from GM, and it will get mated to a Suncoast transmission, and the turbocharger and downpipe are going to get replaced. There's the downpipe. The turbocharger is going to be a 64 millimeter drop in from the folks over at Duramax Tuner. So this should be a pretty stout motor. It'll be good for right at 550 horsepower and 1,100 foot-pounds. So he'll have a a brand new Suburban that'll really scoot. So at any rate, we just wanted to share those improvements and revisements with you and let you know what the new 1-ton Suburban looks like. So again, my name is Eric Swanson here at Duraburb. Thanks for taking time to watch our video and have a wonderful day.